Hi there, my name is Jeff and I'm an ex-Jehovah's Witness. Praise be, that's all I can say. Recently I've been looking on YouTube some of the videos on ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, from ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, which are really interesting. John Cedars and J.W. Struggle, and I would recommend these sites if you are researching Jehovah's Witnesses. Because they'll give you information they won't, for obvious reasons when you look into it. Anyway, I thought I'd share some experiences, not everything, else I'll be here till tomorrow talking about it, but just a few random memories through the time I was involved in it. I was involved for around about 30 years, 30 long years. From round about the age of 7, I was brought up. I don't blame my parents for getting involved in Jehovah's Witnesses. That particular time, they'd just lost my sister, and of course they come knocking on your door saying, you see them again, the resurrection, and it's a very plausible thing at that particular time. You didn't have the internet, you didn't have books, you couldn't research them. So I don't blame them at all. And incidentally, we've all come out. So I was lucky. I haven't been shunned or anything like that. I didn't have many friends in it, if any really, or not true friends, what I call true friends. So the shunning issue wasn't really that massive a deal for me. And unlike some people, videos I've seen on YouTube, and it's terrible, absolutely dreadful. Some of the experiences these people have gone through, and have my empathy and sympathy on. The governing body, the evil men of the Jehovah's Witnesses organisation, have a lot to answer for. Anyway, like I said, I was involved from around about 7, and I remember certain things, going to meetings, being absolutely bored. Of course, at that age you would be, and counting things on the ceiling, and just to keep me occupied during the meetings. I remember Christmas, of course, and birthdays. You can't celebrate Christmas and birthdays. Did I miss out? Yeah, it wasn't a big deal to me at that, but you just got used to it. Although occasionally you would wish there were presents on Christmas Day. Never was. That blinking Father Christmas, I don't know. Never came down my ceiling. Anyway, so yeah, as I got older, thought it was right, the truth, or the lie as I call it. I thought it was from God. Been bombarded by the Watchtower and Tract Society at these meetings. I remember losing loads of friends from it. They used to ask me to go out and do things and all that. And the guilt would, I think we remember the bad associations spoils useful habits. That's what they used to say a lot, So you didn't, they would ask you to go out and do things, and you'd turn them down, and eventually you would end up with no friends. Like I said, in the congregation I was in, I think I was one of the youngest in it at that particular time. There was an older congregation, so you were really on your own at that time. I remember thinking some of it didn't make sense to me at the time, like the soon thing, because every meeting practically, or every other meeting, they'd be saying it's soon, look at all the signs, it's soon. I could be a really rich man if I had £1 for every time I heard the word soon. So you were always putting things off, not doing things, because you thought, oh well, like school, you wouldn't go to college, university and all that, because you thought, the end is nigh. But I used to think, well, doesn't it say that no man knows the hour? So how come they know when it is? And doesn't it say that nobody should be looking? I used to think they used to be going on about times and dates and all sorts of things. I thought, well, that doesn't sound right to me. So like I said, I remember music as well. I was a big rock fan, turfing all my rock records out. which was a bit annoying at the time, but again I felt really guilty about having these records. And I remember at the time there was a backward messages scandal. They were saying that groups were putting backward satanic messages on records. Yeah, that's times have changed. So I remember being a big fan of the Electric Light Orchestra. They had an album called Secret Messages, and I bought it because I thought I've got to listen to this. And the guilt, tremendous guilt for buying this record. And years later I found out the most satanic it got was it said please turn over backwards and thanks for listening backwards. Yeah, well, very satanic that was. So yeah, there was all these rules and regulations. They seem to have loads and loads of rules. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that. And the meetings, it used to be always, to me, it was always negative. It always used to be about death. You know, somebody died of that sin and this sin and, oh, the blinking sins under the sun, somebody had died for. I used to think, well, what chance have you got, even if you got through Armageddon, would you survive much longer? Because you'd probably do something wrong eventually or displease God and get wiped out even if you got through. And I'm sure a lot of people were thinking that in their minds. As time went on, of course, the good old 1914, the generation of 1914 would see Armageddon. Yeah. I remember talking to a work colleague about this, saying, it must be coming up soon because this generation is still around and they've got to see Armageddon. And he said, well, what will happen if it doesn't happen? I said, well, I was adamant. I said, that's the end of the religion, because obviously if it doesn't come true, it didn't come from God. So that's it. They're not inspired. And he said, they'll just carry on. And I was like, no, they won't. The people, that's the end of it. And of course, what happened? Yeah, they changed it, new light, and it carried on. But stupidly, I actually got baptised. I'd been involved for a number of years, but sometimes I would drift away. But I always thought it was from God, and I would come back to it. And I got baptised after that. I mean, looking back, you thought, what was your brain at that particular time? But that's what cults do. You can't see the light. I eventually did see the light, but that particular time I was blinded by the light. So yeah, I got baptised, and and cults do that. If you believe in something's from God, you can practically do anything you want to do, really. Like they say, I remember some witnesses will know about the book is black when it's red. If the governing bodies say it's black and it's red, it's black. I mean, what sort of logic is that? Stupid. There was other things that I didn't agree with. Like I said to somebody, because I've done a lot of work with children with learning disabilities, and half of them don't even know what day it is. So I used to say, well, what happens to them? They can't make a decision on that. And somebody, well, if they're Jehovah's Witnesses parents, they're fine, it's okay, and they'll live. But if you're not, you die. And I thought, well, what sort of God does that? Didn't make sense to me, that. It's the guilt, again I'm going back to guilt, but it is a very guilty religion. And I'm not surprised. I've looked into about the mental illness in Jehovah's Witnesses, and it's sky high. And I'm not surprised. It's difficult because you are brainwashed and you're in a cult, and it takes even now I've left probably around about 10 years, but you still sometimes go into the mindset. You're always comparing to what you learn as a Jehovah's Witness, which as for God, I mean, that's another video. I haven't got a clue. I think in that direction, I've no idea. There may be a God, there may be not. Who knows? What he stands for, now, I don't know. If it's a God I learnt about, I wouldn't want to know. To me, he wasn't a God of love. It all seemed to be about destruction and death, and that sort of thing, really. Anyway, I'm going to keep it short, and I may do another one, I may not. I'll see what comments I get, and there you go. So all I've got to say is keep rocking and free your mind. Have a good time.